Whiskey YouTube. Whiskey YouTube. So I'm going to drink this bottle. This is a gift from Teresa Smith that she gave forever ago. That's Canadian Whiskey Smith. Teresa's one of our Psalms, an all-around amazing human being, one of the only level 4s. And this is one of the Canadian whiskeys that I like to talk about when people are like, nothing good's made in Canada. It's like, well, no, there's actually quite a few exceptions to that rule. And Lot 40, which is a Hiram Walker product, I think is one of them. This is their 100% rye dark oak, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I'm going to talk to you about Whiskey YouTube first. When we started this channel, Whiskey Vault, it was 2016. It was 2016, Christmas, like December, if I remember correctly, when I started doing the Advent calendar. And I had no idea that there were whiskey channels on YouTube before that. I was clueless about that. I had started the whiskey school. We had video content. I was trying to think of a good way to promote the whiskey school and get the word out. And we were talking at lunch, Rex and Roy and me and a couple other people, and they're like, hey, you shoot videos for Wizard Academy. Start shooting some whiskey-related videos and put those out, and that'll sort of show the Psalms how to talk about whiskey in a non-snobby manner and sort of, help raise awareness of the school and the program. I was like, oh yeah, great. So I sat in the old vault at a table and started shooting. And really quickly I discovered there was a whole world of whiskey YouTubers. And at the time, it seemed like a lot, but it was only like a couple dozen. Ralphie was the king. He was in like the 50,000, 60,000 subscriber range or something like that. And it was a weird sensation. All these people started commenting on our videos, and I was talking to them, and they were like, hey, welcome to the whiskey world on YouTube. And I was like, oh. And there was a little bit of a rough transition where some people were a little about like, who the hell do these guys think they are? They just showed up out of nowhere, and now they're taking over. And that's just because we understood marketing and communications, and so we knew how to create that kind of content. And at the time, Whiskey YouTube was just full of a bunch of whiskey lovers. Whiskey enthusiasts, very knowledgeable, very enthusiastic, but not a seriously high production standard. It was just like, let's get a camera, let's talk to the camera. And man, it sounds like I'm denigrating the early ones. I'm not. Like the German guy, I think, and his son, whiskey.com, they did a great job. Ralphie's videos always look great. They weren't they were solid, but they weren't fancy. And we had the benefit of a professional videographer and a camera studio and like really high-end stuff on our side. And so we just sort of waded into that and started talking to people. We grew. There was some like weird vibes at first because we just sort of showed up into a community that we didn't know existed, and then we're like, hey. But pretty quickly, we started Crowded Barrel not long after that, and then we did our first ever Bastards Ball, and the first thing that I wanted to do was invite every single whiskey YouTube channel that we were friends with, and we did. And the first couple of years of the Bastards Ball Crowded Barrel gatherings, we had a massive, like, dozen plus whiskey YouTubers on campus, and I got to be really good friends with those people, and I still really like these humans. And then a bunch of our Psalms started their own YouTube channels, and the whiskey YouTube community grew. And then something new happened in the last few years that I'm only just now discovering because I wasn't paying attention. But first, Lot 40, 100% rye. So this is one of the few Canadian actual 100% rye products. It's pot still in Hiram Walker. It's the reason they call this dark oak is because it spends some of its time in new oak, and then it says finished in number 4 char barrels. I don't know what the details on that are. Do they rechar the barrels? Do they order charred 4 and they use them for other things and then they put these in it? Don't know, but its second casking is a number 4 char barrel. I like this one because it's got character, it's got richness, it's got depth. The nose is baked spice, oak, very tannin forward, very cola syrupy kind of density, like a ginger forward botanical root beer and sarsaparilla. I always get this in these kinds of ryes, and unless you're from the South, and specifically like Louisiana, Texas. You may not know what this is, but gumbo filet, which is ground up sassafras leaves, and it's used as a thickening agent in gumbo. And there's a smell to a lot of ryes that I always think, oh, gumbo filet, sassafras leaves. But I can't use that very often unless I'm in the right place, because no one has any idea what gumbo filet is. All right, cheers. Oh, yeah. Strangely, the tannin and the prickliness of the rye grain on this one actually comes across as carbonation for my brain. And for a split second, you almost think that you're drinking a botanical soda. It's really sweet. It's really herbal, but it's also syrupy and candied, hard candy and rich syrup sweetness. It's very dry. The nose gets a little more barrel forward on the as it sits here for a little bit. This one's got character, man. Character. Don't let anybody tell you Canadian whiskey is all boring and watered down and nothing until they've tried things like some of the really great, what's Don Livermore's ones that I always really love? Jeez, my brain is like misfiring today. Anyway, Lot 40 is a Hiram Walker problem, but that's a great one. There's so many good things come out of Canadian whiskey. This is just one of them. Huh? Yeah, but Wisers, that's the word I was looking for. Some of the really high-end Wisers, thank you, Mike. Some of the really high-end Wisers things are really great. I'm gonna add a little water to this from my little water dropper that I just remembered to bring. It's adorable. Finally. How many years, guys? How many years have we been asking for this? You've been asking me, I mean, and I keep forgetting. Lots is the answer. Lots of years is the answer to that question. Okay. With a little water, it gets more tannic and more herbal. The palate softens into more of a creamy sensation. It drops all the tannins and drops all that like and just makes it all of the sweetness. This is 48% alcohol out of the bottle. I probably took it down to 45, 44 with that drop I just did. I like it better without the water. It was a perfect proof at 48, but it's still a good whiskey. Okay, so here's something new that I've noticed in Whiskey YouTube, and then it's gonna lead to, I'm gonna have a small call to action. I actually have a couple of videos in the next few weeks that are call to action videos. This is one of them. After we started the channel and it grew and we built the community and we splintered and created Whiskey Tribe as a separate channel, and I had too many things going on, just too many things. I was running the distillery. We helped found the Texas Whiskey Association. I was its president for a little bit. I was running Wizard Academy. I was running Whiskey Marketing School. I had personal things going on in my life. I was stretched like, was it, as The Hobbit says, as like butter spread over too much toast. And I lost track of what was happening. And I actually have never really been a YouTube guy until the last year and a half. And all of a sudden, that's my like, when people talk about doom scrolling and they roam through social media, for me, it's either gonna be Instagram or I'm just watching YouTube. And I've discovered in the last year and a half something that happened in the last 8 years since we started our channel that I had no idea, for the most part. And that was that Whiskey YouTube is blowing up. There are hundreds, maybe more, hundreds of Whiskey YouTube channels. And a lot of them are really good. And the production quality is so good these days. And people are doing such a great job of focused content, well shot, well edited, well titled. Like it is no longer the early days of Whiskey YouTube. It's a whole category. And the vast majority of them are, 1,000 to 5,000 subscribers. That's fine. But I think, man, what a fun time to be in Whiskey YouTube that like we are still, one of the top 10 for sheer subscriber count. But if you look at our view count, it doesn't match our subscriber count. So like any other channel with 500,000 subscribers is averaging 20, 30, 40, 50,000 views a video. we're averaging 5 to 10. And that's just because I think we blew up our subscriber count early, and then we just sort of quit feeding this channel. And so a huge number of our subscribers are sort of dormant viewers. But a lot of these smaller channels, and smaller is relative, getting really great view counts. They're making great content. I'm a huge fan of it. So I want to find a way to sort of like go back to what we did when we first started 8 years ago, and we sort of called out and brought together and invited some community of whiskey YouTubers. I think there's a vast majority of the new whiskey YouTubers probably don't even know this channel exists, but I've been watching them, and I've got 2 I want to recommend. One that's not very new, but he's more recent than us, and that was First Phil. And I'm not going to talk about some, the Scotch malt whiskey dummies and the Scotch test dummies and the bourbon night, Chad and Sarah. These are all friends. And Roy and Ralphie. These are the old school Vanguard. You already know that I love all those guys. They already know that I love them. These are people that we haven't really connected, and I've never hung out and shared a whiskey with them, but I really like their stuff. And First Phil is one of them. I think he's just great. Just such good content. And another one is a more new one. I don't know how new, but I only just found it. And it is called On the Barrel Whiskey. And it's a husband and wife duo, and their sense of humor, I just love it. The editing is so dry, and so they don't mind being dorks, and I'm a dork, so that gives me a really high level of affinity right out of the gate. And so, yeah, just those. But you guys should, if you are also roaming and exploring the whiskey YouTube space, use the comment section of this video to put in links to other whiskey YouTube channels. And so this video can become sort of a comment aggregation area of really great whiskey YouTube community stuff. And in the next year, I'm going to be working on redeveloping some website stuff for Whiskey Marketing School. And one of the things I'd really like to do is create a landing page and physical space for the Whiskey Vault that has more than just links to these episodes, but it also is like, hey, have you seen these whiskey YouTube channels? Check them all out. And maybe we start curating community again, because I missed that. So if you got a YouTube channel that you want people to see, here's what I would prefer. I would prefer that you not put your own channel. I would prefer that you use your voice to promote someone else's channel. So if you have a YouTube channel, that's great. But in this video, in the comments, what I want you to do is recommend someone else's channel. Fair? I already gave you 2. If you don't follow him, First Phil and On the Barrel, now it's your turn. Cheers to you, and I'm really glad you're here. All right. For this channel, like and subscribe. And on any of the other channels you find in the comments, give them a like and subscribe.